This week on No Show Prep Book Reviews, we are discussing Columbus Day, written by Craig Alanson and read by R.C Bray. This is the first of the Expeditionary Force series. This book is about 16 and a half hours long. This week I read Columbus Day. Our hero Joe Bishop is an Army soldier, very young, just back from being deployed, and aliens crash land into his hometown here on planet Earth. It's exciting. It's worth the trip. Come with us.
Perfect. All right, man. Columbus Day. I'm just saying this book is just starts so much. It's so much fun.
So the reader is not Scott Brick, but he has the same level of ability.
I mean, yeah, this guy also reads my favorite audiobook, Mission to Mars. He's the same guy, and he's just, I don't know how he pulls it off. And once you hear this guy, you know what I mean? But his voice is so gravelly. But he is from the Northeast somewhere, which is good because our hero in this book and in Mission to Mars, both of them, they're from the Northeast also. Kind of got that Boston-y thing going on. But it doesn't really come out very much. But whenever he voices Skippy, the amazing AI we meet in this book, Skippy likes to make fun of Joe Bishop, our hero. He likes to make fun of his accent. And so when he does the Skippy voice making fun of Joe Bishop, oh my gosh, it's like the worst Boston you've ever heard, you know. But he's really good. He's really good with the women, you know. He makes women voices very well. I love his alien impersonations. It's a good reader.
So let's start from the beginning. This is if you watch this, you get a quick synopsis of the book. It's the other one. This is a lot more in depth. We're going to discuss a lot of what happened, our favorite points, and we'll end back and forth communication on the book. So let's just jump right in. Joe Bishop is at a barbecue. He's on leave for Columbus Day, the holiday. When the worst day of his life happened.
Yeah, man. The Rihar show up, start attacking Earth. Doesn't even know they're the Rihar. Just somebody from space starts attacking Earth.
Right. And he jumps in a vehicle to save the planet. It turns out to be a ice cream truck with a purple dinosaur painted on the side. Nothing like the White Knight riding to the rescue with Barney painted on the side of your vehicle. And he becomes famous for this, Ted. This is like his...
Yeah. It's a nickname for it, man. He's like, Barney after this.
Barney. I don't really know exactly where to go from this, man. It's kind of funny that like this book is not a thinker. You're not going to read this and in 5 or 6 days come to some epiphany of Earth or your life. It is a book that you're going to try to tell your friends the funny parts and struggle because you have to be there to get the funny parts.
I think if there's any like psychological or any thinking that went on, our author picks our hero Joe Bishop out. He comes up with solutions because he's absolutely not qualified for whatever position he's in. He has no preconceived or like trained in notions about how to handle situations, and our hero gets put in positions that you couldn't have prepared for. And so anything that anybody would have trained for wouldn't have worked because they're not, they end up not on Earth or on other alien planets doing alien planet kind of things. And so he has like no starting point. So he's able to look at every situation with fresh eyes and no pre-thoughts.
So I just finished book 5 or 6 in December. And I was shocked at the character development of Bishop. I know it's not what we're talking about in book 1, but he starts out as a private, as an E2 or E3.
Yeah, pretty low.
His entire job is avoiding the sergeant to enjoy his day. And Bishop is in the middle of doing something, and he destroys 2 Rihar ships. And for that, he is given the rank of 06 as a full bird colonel. And then I remember the statement when he's like, I don't want these. This is no, I'm good. And they were like, well, they wanted to make you a 4-star general, but we explained that then you would never be able to kill anybody again. So this was the compromise.
If there's any unbelievable part of the book, just that our reader is quite a bit older than our hero is. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so because our hero does struggle with that a lot, that he's being thrown in these leadership positions, but you don't really get the full effect of the fact that he's only like 19 or 20, because our reader is definitely in his late 30s or 40s.
Right.
But that's the only weak part. I mean, it's a great book and it's a great listen to. Our reader is fantastic.
So I forget, what is our master sergeant's name? Female.
Ooh, I don't know.
All right, so there's a moment in the book where Joe Bishop is basically going to her to whine about the fact that it is not fair that he has to make these decisions. And she says, "Sir, with all due respect, you wear the Eagles, you wear the pants." And it is a famous line. If you're in the Army or you've been around Army guys, you've heard them say this. You're in the job, wear the pants. I've heard people say, put the boots on. And what it essentially means is you got to grow into this position. You were given the pay, you're going to do the job. And live or die by his decision, they're going to live or die by his decision. And I feel like Joe has to really, it's really hard for Joe to go from trying to avoid all responsibility to the lives of all human race sit in his hands. And we get to kind of enjoy the comic relief of Skippy, who's a beer can, and kind of see his growth of, I don't want to have to do this. So like you were saying, Ted, like thinking through every problem and finding a Joe-like solution, mostly thanks to Skippy, but Joe-like solutions.
Some things aren't always obvious to you once you've been in your career for a while. You kind of start forgetting, especially because whenever you are faced with a problem and you find a solution, you always go back to that solution for the same problem over and over. You know, you stop rethinking that problem ever again. And I think it's kind of neat. You know, it's really refreshing to get, somebody's perspective that's never had to deal with any of these situations before.
Yeah.
Our writer, he constantly, let's go for another book. So Joe Bishop's on another planet, and he does some really amazing things and kind of travels up the chain of command really fast. And like you said, he ends up being a colonel, and everybody's kind of making, he's just a theater rank is what he's telling them. And he ends up being the right guy for the job. He's a kind of a farmer boy. He kind of knows how to make things work. He goes around and shows people how to make things work. Well, they're all the same boat. They're all like 18 and 19 also. They don't know how to farm. They're from wherever, Florida or something. But the comic relief is definitely the reason for you're here, man. Skippy just, when he enters the scene, that's when it's the most fun. It's a good book up until that point. Skippy supplies just incredible solutions to the problem. To every problem.
Every problem. So what I love the most about the book and the way it's written and Skippy is how many times when you were a kid did you think to yourself, if I only had the powers of insert superhero? And Skippy has all the powers of all superheroes. And yet that cockroach of a brain of Joe Bishop outthinks Skippy more than once.
Yeah.
Because of what you were saying. He has that ability to flip that Rubik's Cube over and over and over again until he makes it work. And he's able to harness Skippy's amazing gifts to make the impossible possible. But it's not through pure strength. It's through the power of the mind. And the writer is an excellent strategic. He takes that strategic impact, and it's a fun book. This is definitely not Art of War. It is definitely a high school college humor meets. I really feel like this was written by an E4 in the Army who was like, "Hey, I'm tired of working. Let me write this book and make millions of dollars."
How many of us in our grunt positions, though, in life haven't been able to see easier or more productive ways to a problem? So often the person up above is thundering out commands and doesn't really get down to the part that you really need to know. They kind of just lather it on and you're stuck with whatever they just said.
Yeah. And I feel like that Joe starts out with the power and he makes all these big time decisions and he makes a lot of bad decisions. And as you age through, I'm going to do the same you just stopped yourself from doing. As you progress through the series, you see where he begins to fall in that same course of mistakes that other leadership positions do, which is he starts to rely on old habits when you have to continue to evolve because he's taking on species that are so much more powerful than even Skippy in a lot of ways.
Well, man, how long did you feel in that cave, though, when you were cut off from all your normal modern life convenience?
I think when we all realized our phones didn't work, there was definitely a panic moment.
And, and thankfully you were there with 15 people that you knew and you knew that you could trust.
So it's really funny you said I knew 2 people besides when I first got there, but we all come from similar backgrounds and we all from the same area. But you're right. I can't imagine. Like we talked several times. We all mentioned this. At one point, one of the guys' headlamps went out, and I can't imagine the fear that must have engulfed him. It's like, okay, I don't have a light anymore.
Right, like that's your symbol of independence. You have light, and
right. and we just kept talking about like, this was only found because someone fell into this. Like, how did they get out? How did they find their way out? And I told you, if you go back and watch the last show, like we were at the exit and couldn't find it, ironically, because of our headlamps. It wasn't until we turned our lights off that we could see light.
Oh, man, that's powerful right there, brother.
Yeah.
Woo, man. Can't even see it because your reliance on the one thing you did have, or the one thing you felt like you had. You had lots of things going for you, but your light,
Yeah.
Light.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if you could get on a starship and you could fly to another world and there were aliens and all this stuff was going your way, and you get there and all of a sudden you're not the big boy in town.
But the fact that something would show up and it would be so big that they're the smartest minds in the world are not even smarter than a beer can, which is what our hero walks into.
Yeah. But we all want, in our fantasy life, fantasy in our mind, we always want something else to be smarter than us and, and have the solutions, have the ideas. Because in all honesty, man, our space station, it's a technological marvel from 20 years ago, but man, you ain't getting me up there to live. I'm not even going up there to visit.
No.
I don't want to die that bad. I'm not into that. No, I'm going to stay right here. I have a chance, at least a semblance of safety. I feel safe here.
Don't drive over that bridge.
I mean, any moment they could fly through a meteor shower and it would be over. Meteors hit the station all the time. They're having to go out there with glue occasionally and stop up leaks.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yes.
That's terrifying.
There are things in outer space. I mean, it's flying at the maintain orbit over the Earth, at low Earth orbit like they are. You have to fly 57,360 miles an hour. That thing is moving. And anything traveling at any other trajectory, it doesn't matter if it's traveling fast or slow or not, you still just hit it at 57,360 miles an hour.
How do they keep their shields up?
Well, you see, they don't have those.
Yeah, I mean, that's really funny. Like, that was the first thing I thought about when someone was like, we're going to space. And I was like, we have shields now? No. No, I think I'm good right here, actually. Thanks. Because our atmosphere kind of works as a shield.
It does. Yeah.
And they don't have those up there.
Yeah.
But anywho, once completely sideways.
Back to the book, and I got a topic for our next show already.
I know, right? You went crazy on that. So Joe Bishop's a great character, lots of fun. He luckily he takes himself very lightly, and because Skippy makes fun of him nonstop, and you will laugh at him like everyone else does. This is not a serious book. We have done The Lion's Game and several Nelson the Mills books, and Jim Butcher books, and I just started Orphan X, which is a very serious book.
Oh yeah.
This one isn't. This is a lot of fun. Enjoy it.
Our author, man, he's really similar to a lot of authors, how they want to put our heroes through things that they would normally not endure or put up with. But I'm sorry, I know it's going to be. So our hero, they arrive back to Earth with the ship. That's kind of telling the end of the book. I understand, but
Right, go ahead.
this series it continues in the next book. You can't hardly tell the next story without ending this book. They arrive back to Earth with a ship. As soon as they arrive, they know that there's 2 Crustang ships at least in orbit. They jump in behind one of our planets and then power it out around. They've used the sensors. They could detect what ships were in orbit over around Earth, and then they jump in like on top of them. Skippyism, takes over the ships because of something I won't give away. He jumps the more war type ship, jumps it instantly into the sun, so it's gone, and then opens all the hatches and ventilates the other ship, so all of the people on that ship fly outside. Within seconds, you have an enormous amount of death above our planet. And then our hero, what do you do first? You just showed up in orbit. You got to tell somebody you're here because, they're just all peeing down their britches legs, won't know what the next ship was that just showed up.
Oh, because it's the enemy ship that he just arrived with.
Right. He's in an enemy ship.
Yeah.
Who would even know? It wouldn't even matter. It could be Pluto's ship. They don't know whose ship it is.
That's true.
It's a ship, So they call the president, which is a female, which is great because our author's not misogynist. And our hero, though, still thinks of himself as that 19, 20-year-old buck sergeant, not as a guy that just showed up with the starship. I have a real problem with this part of the book because if it was me, I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? I got this ship. I got my shiny beer can, Skippy. I'm the man.
This is the part of the book that infuriates me every time.
In fact, so a few days after he's been on the planet, and he meets a gal and they spend the night in the coffee shop talking, and then he's back on the base, and a lady who was assigned to guard him, she comes in the room and she's like, "Is there anything you need?" She's prepared to do anything. Our author implies that. Our hero doesn't get it. She's going to do anything he wants because he just saved the entire world. Like they thought death was imminent. Torture was happening because of the aliens all around the planet.
The entire Earth is enslaved.
Right. It's horrible. He just saved everything. She's willing to do anything. And our hero says, "Man, I sure would like a cheeseburger."
I always took it the other direction. I always took it as a rejection of I just offered to do anything you wanted.
I'm sure there was all that too. Yes.
Cheeseburger.
Absolutely.
Well, after the cheeseburger, what else do you want? A back rub would be all right if you just want to get weird about it, lady. Like, leave me alone.
He just doesn't even get it.
No.
Our author just doesn't even. Our hero just doesn't even have a moment of let's get it on. He just doesn't even have it.
Well, he's kind of into that girl from the coffee shop. But
I guess so.
I did. It actually, yes, it very much infuriated me. I also love when, like, the end of the book, they're trying to order Bishop to tell Skippy to bring the ships to us, and he's like, "Nah, not doing it. I am no, you monkeys don't get it." I love how he refers to the humankind as monkeys, except for Joe, who he refers to as a lot worse.
Yes.
I think the author does a great job of explaining just how little we have truly accomplished since the day we figured out what fire was. Because we, as a race, tend to inflate our own ego. And the author does a great job of pointing out that in the 60s, we figured out how to get to the moon. We got better cell phones.
I don't know what it was like to live in the last century. Well, the 1 century before the last century.
Right.
Living conditions have to be a lot better than they were then. Where do you go? We're still working on the next power source. I think that's kind of my next subject.
Yeah.
Our next show is going to be that. we still think that. I mean, come on. I mean, like our father had a real issue with this. He said that when he was in grade school, that the teacher showed up with a piece of fiber optic and showed it around the classroom. It was like a foot long. It was a little, it's fishing line. You know what I'm saying? Fishing line is literally fiber optic without the shielding.
Yeah.
I'm 43, so this is 50 something years ago.
Yep.
Man, I won't buy a house if I can't get fiber internet to the house. I won't even move there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not renting a house. I ain't buying a house. You ain't got fiber outside. I ain't doing. Man, that's 50-plus-year-old technology. When I was a kid, I got to go to Nuclear One in Russellville and tour the power plant. And as again, he says, ask them, why are they still just boiling water to turn a turbine and make electricity? It might as well have, it might as well just have a horse out there cranking on a wheel, because it's the same thing. They ain't done one damn thing except change the power source. Nuclear power is an amazing power source, but we don't use it for what it could be used for. We don't even harness the amount of energy that it does produce.
That wastes so much.
And yes, I mean, it's so much more efficient than any other power source we have.
Right.
It still wastes entirely amount. When I was a child, I mean, they reduced this some, but when I was in an engineering school in my 20s, a car averages the power loss between vibration and heat. A car loses 75% of the energy it makes in vibration and heat.
Yep.
Think about that the next time you go romp on that accelerator. You're like, woohoo, this baby just went fast. Well, you used 25% of the power that energy that car made to do that.
And that's what makes electric so impressive, is that they've almost completely eliminated.
But you still have to make the electricity, though.
No. I forget that for a second. The engine. They have reduced the loss of friction and heat. That's the part that's impressive. I don't care about the fuel source still has to be made.
Except that, I understand, but except that locomotives have been using electric motors to pull locomotives around
forever.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
80 years, 70 years.
Yeah, it's not a new technology. It's not.
It hasn't come out of my brain. I don't know what we should be doing. I don't have the solution. I'm a complainer, not a solutioner. But
right, but I agree.
Where do we go next? What should we
go next?
What should we be doing?
And that's what you just said is key, man. I'm tired of hearing electric is next. No, electric is 100 years old. What is next? What is next?
Anyway, Skippy.
Skippy.
Read the book. It could make you think. I mean, it has made us think about our current situation. I don't think that was the intention of the author. The book is very
not.
I really love the book. So the book is so good. As soon as it was over, I downloaded the next one and started it.
And the next one.
And the next one.
You will enjoy it.
All right, man. We got to get out of here.
Yeah. Like, share, subscribe.